Stigli smo i do zadnjeg
Jel moguće?
predavača.
To nije lako.
Jeste uzbuđeni što ste zatvarate cijelu priču?
To je stvarno hrabro. Komplimenti gospodinu Damiru i Dobrini koji će nam se pridružiti iz CDO Securitas Hrvatska. Autonomous Border Protection Systems. Mila, to će nam trebati. Odošmo mi u Schengen, vrajo, nećemo nikad preko granice.
Izvolite.
Izvolite, dobrodošli. Welcome.
Hvala. Thank you very much. I know it's end of the show and very hard to keep concentration, but I will try to be quick today and show you what we did for the Croatian borders. I'm working for 15 years in the security industry, but this is something different. This is not everyday security, so that's the reason we wanted to share that with the public. So when we take a look on the Croatian borders, so it's a not big country in the square meters, but quite big border in the kilometers. So every border is quite difficult, mountains, rivers, green fields. So there is basically no unique approach to protect the borders. So the terrain is very difficult. Also, there is no infrastructure, anything. Limited electricity, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Communication. It's also quite difficult because the telecom operators do not have any interest to cover. There is no people in these border areas, so you're on your own when it comes to the communication. So this is how we approached. Long-range thermal detection camera mounted on the higher position and scanning the area. This is the area in eastern part of Croatia, Almash, protecting the border. Dunav is the river, which is actually the border. This location was quite easy. There is city behind, electricity, communication. Okay, we just put the camera, build the tower, and that's it. So this is slightly different. Telecom tower, 65 meters tall, and you can imagine the guys who were climbing up there and doing the installation of this system. Okay, this is in Lika, also some telecom tower. It's quite a challenge to lift this system up because normally it costs a few $100,000. So your hands are shaking when you are lifting something so expensive up. A little bit about the cameras. So actually this is cooled camera. So the sensor inside is cooled to minus 200 degrees Celsius to be more sensitive to detect thermal radiation. So with this equipment, you are able to detect 20 kilometers away people, person, vehicles. So it's working also in the better conditions. Okay, not to 20 kilometers, but the range then is a little bit smaller, but also quite. This view is very expensive view. So camera is quite expensive, so actually you can see how it looks in real life. So the person, animal is glowing in this picture. So it's quite easily for the operator to spot something on the field which is actually empty. There should not be any persons or animals. So basically, scanning the large area is what the operators do. Sometimes when there is a possibility, we mount a radar, which also is able to automatically detect person, classify, make differentiation between person and the vehicle, and it can also improve the efficiency of the operator. But the terrain configuration and woods and forests are blocking the signal of the radar, and it's not so efficient every time to mount the radar on the location. Okay, oops, sorry. This is something different. This is the mountain Dinara, very difficult to approach. When you need to drive to this location, you need a jeep, and you are 2 hours from civilization. So everything here is built from the scratch, no power at all, no communication. So we used the, sorry, the movie should start, but can you click? Ah, thank you. Okay, to back up the solar panels, we have the wind turbines, because this is normally windy area. During the winter time, especially when there is not so much sun, the wind turbines are becoming quite important. So this field were totally green field before we came. And we mounted this, everything we created. So 160 cubic meters of the concrete, 12,000 kilos of the steel is built into this structure. So the solar panels are producing the energy during the daytime and most of the year. But when it comes to the winter time, so not so much sun, it can happen that in the 1 week time you will not have any of the sun. So again, there are wind turbines to back up the solar panels, and also the diesel generator, which will improve the autonomy of the system. So to store this energy, we put 1.5 tons of the batteries inside. So you can imagine the size of the system. So you were probably wondering, so why so much, why to bother so much because of the one camera? Okay, this is not one camera. This tower becomes communication tower, mission critical tower for communicating between the policemen on the border area, which is very, very difficult for walk even, and also impossible for the, for example, 4G signal or something like that. Diesel generator is a backup, but it is rarely used because it's quite difficult to reach these locations, especially during winter time. There is snow, and you are only in very bad weather conditions, so you're only able to reach this during few months a year. So that's why so much redundancy to back up the system. Okay, but these are the fixed towers, and immigrants are moving fast. So when they find this tower, they will move to another place to smuggle through the border. So also to build this kind of infrastructure, the tower, it takes a long, long time. So basically, there was need for some other kind of solution. So that's why in the last 2 years we built a trailer which is doing the same stuff actually. Also the thermal imaging camera on top of the mast, power supply which is fully off-grid. So solar panels are main power source, and also the fuel cells which are producing energy when there is no sun. Trailer is quite light and quite fast. It can move to another location. So basically one person can, in 10 minutes, set up everything, hook up the car and drive to another location. So the biggest challenge to build this kind of trailer was the weight. The customer wanted trailer up to 750 kilos to be able to drive with the B category of the driver's license. So that was the biggest challenge. So you need to put the batteries, the solar panels, the cameras, the fuel in 750 kilos. So we ended up building a custom-made trailer, modeling for, I think, 6 months, saving a weight on every piece of, on every screw, we saved some weight to fit in the 750 kilos. So definitely quite a challenge for engineers. And also when it comes to the power supply, it doesn't make really sense that your trailer is noisy. Then everybody would avoid it. So we need to have some backup for the solars, but it should be quiet. Okay, so what we did here, we installed a fuel cell which is actually producing the energy from methanol. It's alcohol, it's a chemical reaction, and from small cartridge of the methanol you can produce a lot of energy. Actually 2 cartridges are enough to back up the trailer for the 6 months period. You probably wonder why you didn't hear for such solution, because it's very limited, so it cannot produce very much of the power of the energy. So this is producing only 200 watts, basically, and so that's why we are also saving the consumption. Okay, this is the normal setup. Everything can be controlled over the tablet, so you can lift the trailer, pump the telescopic mast, and again put everything together. One important thing to mention, when we have 8 meter, it's not so high, this 8 meter, but when it comes to the long range detection, and we are talking about 10-15 kilometers range, then every movement basically you can ends up that you don't see anything at the end. So it was quite critical to build stable trailer and stable mast to have long range detection. Okay, when it comes to connectivity, there was problem in areas of the border when the signals of the operators are mixing. So basically you can have Bosnian signal, Croatian signal, different operators, and you want to use everything what you have. So that's why we used bonding routers, which are combining what is there, what is available, and sending one signal securely to the central point using every bandwidth what is out there. And sometimes when there is nothing available, considering the telecom communication, so there was a radio link base that big towers were used for the central collection point, and trailers can then shoot this, let's say, central tower to have the Wi-Fi radio communication. Again, thermal cooled camera, slightly range is a little bit smaller, but quite impressive performance also for a system which is there. So in total we delivered 17 systems in 2019 and 8 systems last year. The scope of delivery was car together with the trailer and all the equipment what is inside. So this is the delivery to the customer at the police academy last year. Okay. And that's it. So I was short, not to bother you too much. So if there is any questions, you can ask.
Thank you, Mr. Dobrina.